Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii held a press conference on Capitol Hill today to bring attention to her bill, the Stop Arming Terrorists Act. The event came the morning after President Donald Trump's first address to a joint session of Congress, which Representative Gabbard attended with a special guest, Tima Kurdi, whose family was made refugees by the war in Syria. When they attempted to flee to Europe, their story came to a tragic end.
Desperate for their family and children, my brother Abdullah and his wife Rihanna decided they want to take a risk and trust a smuggler like thousands of people were doing, to go somewhere they thought would mean freedom, safety, and hope. In September the 2nd in 2015, I heard the tragic news. That's my sister-in-law, Rihanna, and my two nephews, Alan and Ghalib Kurdi, have it drowned.
The image of her nephew, Alan Kurdi, shocked the world and caused many to wonder how they could alleviate the suffering of refugees. RT correspondent Anya Parampil explains why Tima and Representative Gabbard believe this legislation would be one step our government could take to do just that.
A toddler face down on the beach, drowned in his search for sanctuary as the country he hailed from plunges deeper into war. Little Alan Kurdi came to symbolize the refugee crisis to the world. His aunt, Tima Kurdi, says it was a wake-up call.
People expect me to call for the overthrowing the Syrian government, but I refuse. I do not support one side or the other in the conflict in Syria. I stand for my suffering people.
Tima is in Washington as a guest of U.S. Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who recently introduced the Stop Arming Terrorists Act, which, according to her office, would stop the CIA or other federal government agencies from using U.S. funds to provide arms, funds, intelligence, and other support directly and indirectly to armed militants allied with terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Gabbard, a Democrat, says it's a genuine way to address the tragic struggle of refugees.
There's a lot of conversation about, what to do with refugees, how many to take, how should they be vetted. But the most important question is how do we address the cause of these people fleeing their homes?
The bill has bipartisan support, including from Representative Tom Garrett, a Republican from Virginia.
I believe I can speak for all of us when I say we are here to ensure that the first and foremost goal of U.S. foreign policy is to ensure peace and stability. 5 million displaced people have one thing in common, and that is that they do not wish to be displaced.
No one knows this reality more than Tima, who desperately wants a political solution to end the war.
A military solution is not the path for the peace in Syria. We must find a political solution to end the war in Syria. I am proud today to be here to support Stop Arming the Terrorists and call on President Trump to end the regime change in Syria.
President Trump did not address the question of arming so-called moderate rebels in Syria in his first speech to Congress since assuming office. Rebels, which according to the New York Times are in alliance with Al-Qaeda's affiliate in the country, the Al-Nusra Front. Even the Wall Street Journal concedes some of Syria's largest rebel factions are doubling down on that alliance despite warnings from Washington. Yet Gabbard has been consistently smeared for her position the U.S. should end support for these groups and for recently traveling to Syria to talk with Syrians, including President Bashar al-Assad. I asked her why it's so difficult in Congress to take her position.
Oh, it's really not a difficult position, nor should it be. I think every American would be surprised to know that for years our government has been providing both direct and indirect support to these armed militant groups who are working directly with or even under the command of terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, all in their effort and fight to overthrow the Syrian government. Our bill does a simple thing. and it says that our taxpayer dollars should not be used to provide arms, money, intelligence, or other types of support to militant groups who are working with, allied with terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, nor should we be funneling taxpayer dollars through countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Qatar, and others who are providing this direct and indirect support to terrorist groups.
It's a straightforward goal. End U.S. support for extremist groups which have only proven time and time again they'll one day turn their guns on us, and which make life impossible for innocent civilians like Alan Kurdi on the other side of the world. Let's see if it catches on in Washington, a hub of foreign-funded think tanks and politicians not necessarily known for sensibility. In Washington, Anya Parampil, RT.